touch the lives of billions of people around the world. Learning quickly from the world's experts, by the end of the decade, we'll be producing 42 million tons of liquefied natural gas a year for markets in Europe, Asia, and North America. Energy that is reliable. Energy that is safe. We are proud of our achievement and technological breakthroughs. We are proud of our people. Most importantly, we are proud of our responsibility to deliver energy to the world.
The latest developments in Libya. In a phone call to state television, Muammar Gaddafi blamed Osama bin Laden for the uprising in his country. He said the al-Qaeda leader has manipulated his people and said the protesters have been acting under the influence of drugs. The top human rights official in France says there is evidence to suggest that crimes against humanity have taken place and that up to 2,000 people have been killed. And the United States says it supports the expulsion of Libya from the United Nations Human Rights Council, and the Swiss government has now frozen assets belonging to Gaddafi. Well, there's been heavy fighting in the town of Zawiya, that's just 50 kilometers west of the capital, Tripoli, and the local newspaper says at least 100 people have died and dozens more injured. Well, police and soldiers have reportedly deserted the town of Zuwara, that's 120 kilometers west of Tripoli, and witnesses say the people are now in control. And former loyalists continue to abandon the colonel. One of Gaddafi's cousins has left Libya. The ambassador to Jordan has resigned, and Gaddafi's personal aide is now seeking asylum in Egypt. And meanwhile, oil prices are following rumors the Libyan leader has been shot. Well, the U.S. government says it has no reason to believe he's dead. It comes as the Bank of America said oil production in the country is set to completely shut down. While Libya's capital, Tripoli, remains on lockdown, more video is emerging of just how much control Muammar Gaddafi's lost in the east of the country. Jubilant protesters have been showing the media what they've managed to seize in the city of Shahat. That's a region with a long history of resistance. Here's Dan Nolan.
Sitting atop seized army tanks, firing automatic weapons. These men are celebrating a war that hasn't yet been won. Like most of Libya's eastern cities, Shahat is now controlled by the people. Some are giddy with their newfound freedom, joyriding in tanks that once belonged to Muammar Gaddafi's regime.
These are ruins from the previous terrorist regime. This is what Gaddafi used to kill our children.
Shahat is in a province of Libya called Green Mountain, famous for its resistance led by Omar al-Mukhtar against Italian occupation a century ago. Media reports now emerging from Shahat and nearby Al-Baida say peaceful protests on February 17 were met with live fire from Gaddafi's troops. Sympathetic soldiers are said to have opened up military warehouses to help civilians defend themselves, creating a new chapter in Green Mountain's history of resistance. Further east in Tobruk, video from the local airport shows the intensity of battles that raged here. Hundreds of bullet casings lie on the ground, while inside, blood-stained floors show a passenger terminal that became a war zone.
Thank God we won. They had weapons, but we had stones. God helped and we won. All Arabs must do something to stop this Goliath. Where is the United Nations?
Another tank sits on the Tobruk airport runway, an apparent attempt to stop Colonel Gaddafi sending more forces in to take up a fight, but in the east of Libya, he appears to be losing. Dan Nolan, Al Jazeera.
Let's bring in a Libyan political analyst and a blogger. His name is Anas Al-Gumati, and who joins us live from London. Anas, there were reports of pretty heavy fighting going on in Zawiya, the city that's west of the capital, Tripoli. Now, what's the likelihood of Western cities falling into the hands of protesters like we saw happen in the east of the country?
Well, victory is on our way, and people know that, and that's why they're continuing to fight, and that's why the support of the regime is falling apart. It's crumbling as we speak. The protesters will take it, and this is not to be just about the protests. This is the people's. This is the people's victory, and they'll be taking the cities themselves.
And these further resignations that we saw on Thursday from people close to Muammar Gaddafi, how significant are those?
They are very significant. I mean, this is a moment that we're witnessing a endgame strategy, if you will. Essentially, those that are trying to walk away from Gaddafi, we ask them to come with the people. Furthermore, we understand that the people realize that those that are staying with Gaddafi, they will be held accountable and they will be brought to justice.
So why do you think these people are resigning at this particular moment? Why didn't we see any of these resignations in the decades that Gaddafi has been in power?
Well, I mean, there's always the chance of us speculating as to why. I mean, essentially, those that have been bought by Gaddafi have realized that money is not everything in the world, and they're now looking at the game right at the end. The chessboard, effectively is showing the pieces in favour of the people. I mean, that's as far as it will go. People will realise that those that are with us will prevail, and those that are against us will fall.
There's a lot of talk now from the international community. There are these rumblings of sanctions that we hear, military intervention, that word has been thrown around. But what type of interventions could offer real support at this point to the civilian population?
Gaddafi didn't get here on his own. We have to realise that. Gaddafi got here by the support of other African countries, and I call upon the African Union, for example, to finally come out and take action. You have one friend at the moment, but effectively you're making 6 million enemies, and 6 million enemies that will have freedom at the end of the day. I mean, to go on further from that, military intervention is not what Libyan people want. They have got this far on their own. What we are calling for is international sanctions upon those that are facilitating a genocide in Libya.
All right, and if Gaddafi does go, what would happen then in the country?
Libya is one. I have to maintain that. Everyone that I've spoken to on the ground is maintaining that they are no longer purely from Benghazi or from Tripoli or from Zawiya. We are all Libyan and we are all one and we are united.
But there's
what
still
I can say
a lot
about
of
that
work.
is effectively...
There's still a lot of work, though, that has to be done to get to this ideal of democracy that people in the country are seeking.
But those that want it, and it's in their desires, they will achieve it. People have realized that we don't want 42 more years of a dictator that's above us, and the infighting is something that has been blown out of proportion. People that are calling in Benghazi are calling for the freedom of their brothers in Tripoli, and they maintain that, and they will maintain that when they have freedom. I must stress that at the end of the day, we are all united, and all of us want the same aim, which is freedom from a tyrannous regime, a regime that has brought upon death upon its own people and has turned the gun on its own people. Everyone realizes on the ground that we never wanted this, and we'll never have it again. And by the will of Allah, we will all be victorious.
I wonder if you've been able to get through to any people that are in Libya, because as you know, communication has been difficult. So if you have spoken to anyone,